Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Tuesday. It's July 10th. This will be our chart lesson for today. And this was a classic range day. We basically went sideways all day. We had a little bit of an uptrend here, and then of course a downtrend here, and then back up. And that's what you want to see. This is when it gets real tricky, when it's just sideways like this, and we're not going to one side or the other. Basically, right here, this became the resistance, and this kind of became the support area, and until we got back up here again, and then then we're playing the highs and lows again, so to speak. So uh, it's a little tricky in this middle. That's where you got to be real careful. So um, another thing is, this is where I was actually early on. I was playing it more right along here. We were getting more, that's where the closes were. We were getting more touches. But as we moved on up, I moved it up because we're still within the original overnight highs. And I like to use the hot closes. So at the end of the day, I moved it up here. Or once we had this little double test right here, I moved it up here, I guess I should say. So just something to keep in mind. But let's back out just a hair, and we'll go through the trades and wrap the day up. But early on, I actually had this down here, but I moved this up too when we got that close there. I wanted to move it on up, and you could have moved it on up like so. You still probably would have come to the same conclusion. You really don't get a sit up down here either way. This is where I ended up with it in the end. But we got one nice setup here early on. You had to be a little patient today because it was a little slow getting the setup. It was 7, you had to sit here 30 minutes or so. This was tempting up here, but this is really your signal bar, and we're coming off the lows, so we may be headed back up here. But when it comes back down here, we get this double test and a nice bullish bar. I like entering there. And your hope is it's going to the other side. It doesn't end up doing that, but it's still a nice setup. It's good for your scalp. And then we just kind of get going sideways here. And this is almost a repeat of this right here. So unfortunately, you don't get a very good signal bar on my chart. This would have been, you would have liked to have had a nice bearish bar here and treated this as a failed break, because there is a little congestion area. But that's a true doji right there, closed right in the middle. And then we're just kind of congesting again. But you do end up getting a double test here. Notice that eye, you tested it once, you tested it twice. And this is a fail, you could treat this like a failed second entry. You got a new high, first entry, second entry, and it's also a first entry, second entry short. But it's not a very good signal bar, but it's that little trap, and it's one tick higher, and this is a range, and you could treat it like a failed second entry long. So I like that one. I would have liked the bar to be more bearish, but what you might do is let it break lower here and drop a limit order in a tick or two back, and you could have gotten filled 2 or 3 ticks back into this bar. Once it broke lower, it came back and just ridden it back down to here. This is probably going to be your target down here, and then you get the failed break lower and a second entry long here. And all we've done is just gone into a real tight channel right here. And so notice the new high, first entry, and you get a second leg down. Treat that like a failed second entry short. That's a relatively bullish bar, and then you can ride this one all the way back to the top. You actually get a reversal pattern here. Notice how it pushes through first entry, second entry. It's not a very good signal bar, but it's a failed second entry short, and it's a breakout pullback on this. We made a new high, so we're probably going to go higher. I would have liked for this to have taken on off a little faster, but you would have been out of this, and it comes back. And you might have considered entering again here on this second entry. I didn't mark it because you would expect it to take off here, and there's still a lot of resistance right up here at this point. Come back and put that up there, or even right there is probably where you might have it, somewhere right in there. And so there's a little concern about the resistance right there, but There's some reasons like that. It's a second entry. It's a spiking channel here, and it's off that channel. So it probably should at least be green. And it is a nice signal bar as well. But I just was a little risky going into that, right into that resistance there. Notice how you got some more, and that might have scared you out right there. And then you kind of get a little breakout pullback, but your signal bar is not very good. And by that time, you're all the way back to the top, and I don't think you want to risk entering in up here. There's a second entry here, but you're right into that double top, right at the overnight highs, and it's been a range day, so I would look for a reversal here, and you actually get that right here. Nice bearish bar, failed second entry long, second entry short, and a double test of this high. It's tempting to enter here. But you don't have a break of this yet, and so I didn't feel comfortable going short here until we got the double test and the second entry short and the failed second entry long. You had enough reasons there, and you're a little bit further away from the EMA. Not a lot, but plus you got that little break higher. If you entered here, you would have got burned unless you put your stop 2 ticks above the signal bar. But I just wouldn't risk it without that break yet. But when we get the next attempt up, I think it's worth risking in. I did make it green, but this is really close to being red. You could argue for this to be red, but I made it green simply because we still don't have a break. This is a strong spiking channel. It's steadily making higher highs and higher lows. It's not taking off, and it's still inside the overnight highs and lows. So when you get that double test, that's probably enough to risk it. And then, of course, you get to reversal here. There's a little double here, move here, but I'd look at this like a first entry and then a second entry, or even a first entry, second entry. It's close enough. It looks like one. It's turning down right off the trend line, right off the EMA. Nice bearish bar. I'd take that trade. And it looked like it was going to set up another one right here, but it never broke lower, and then it bounces. And it comes back. And notice you got a trend line working up. You get a couple of closes outside and a bearish bar. This one's real close to being able to say it's green, but it's a lower high. This little trend line short term has played out. You get a lower high again here. This almost looks like a repeat pattern here at a little lower, but this one's right into the EMA, so I wasn't crazy about it. But when it pushes through and pulls back and gives you a failed second entry long, a little double, triple top, big bearish bar, I like entering then. And what I'd probably look for at that point is just a measured move like that at a minimum. And you can see we went much further than that. We actually went down and tested the lows, but that's what I would have been looking for there. And then we come back and you get another turn down here, bar's too bullish, another one, again the bar's too bullish, and then another one and a big bearish bar. And it's like a little breakout pullback short. It is right into this, to some support here, but that trend line's working down. That's an obvious channel, and we're probably overdue to head back down here. So I think that one's worth risking. If you didn't take it, you probably, don't beat yourself up, because it is into that support right there. And that's something you got to be concerned about. So, but when it tries to go higher that many times right off a trend line and you get that bearish bar, it's just hard to say. It's just hard to resist going short right there. Now, if it had been down here at the overnight lows, I'd say no way. But this is, and in the middle is where you got to be careful sometimes too. But that's just too many ties to go higher and too nice a bearish bar. So I liked it. And of course we bounced off the low, and unfortunately you didn't get a very good signal bar down here, and there's been no break of this trend line. And this obvious, notice how we gapped over that trend line right there. I see that all the time. That usually tells you that you had your trend line in the right place. But this looks almost like a little bit of a repeat of over here, spiking channel. And so when you get your first pull back here to the trend line, to the EMA bullish bar. I like going long there. And then it comes back again right here. And that's really your true failed second entry short. But by that time, it's starting to go a little bit sideways. And you had that doji in there. But it is a second entry long. Notice that I pull back first entry, second entry. It is a failed second entry short. So there's a lot of reasons to like that one. And it's real close to 2 o'clock. But I marked it because it does meet the criteria. It's just a little bit aggressive, I think, with that doji right there beside it. So, and the fact that you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bars, 7 bars stacked up by the time it triggers, but it is making higher lows, and it does look a lot like this repeat over here. So for that reason, you could almost argue for it to be blue, but it's a little bit aggressive. So, and that's really was it for today. So this was a classic range day, but unfortunately, when I really like these range days are when it consistently turns down off the same highs and consistently turns up off the same lows, and we didn't get that today. So you really had to play the trends within the range, and you're probably better off sticking to the rules. And if you do that, then you probably don't take that trade right there because it's the channel's still working higher, and same thing down here. Of course, I didn't mark it anyway, but you'd want to see it, your failure before you went higher, which would have probably lead you to skip that trade and take this one. But anyway, kind of a quiet day. Obviously, after the market closed, we have this big sell-off. But prior to that, it was just kind of a quiet range type day. And this range is, I'd say 288 to 298 highs and lows. So it's a 10-point range. So there's enough room in there to hopefully catch a few moves. You only got to catch maybe 1 or 2 at the very lows, though, that would have taken off and you could have ridden up. And even then, even catching this, I don't know if I'll ride this out right here, continuing to go sideways. So it's not a great runner or anything like that, but you would have had one. So anyway, not much else we can say about this one. I'm going to wrap it up for today. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.